YouTube. Today we're going to do something a little bit special, and I think it's going to introduce a new series that is going to be prevalent on the channel. So if you've paid attention to the title, you know that this is not going to be a natty or not video. I'm not going to make those videos. I don't think they're interesting. I think they've been overdone in the past, and that the vast majority of the individuals who actually do them don't do them to help people stray and stay on the natural path, but rather they do them because they're bitter. Most of the individuals that make those videos don't look like they lift, and it comes from a place of resentment. Even though they do have their place on YouTube Fitness and they can be extremely entertaining and important as a whole for new and young lifters to know what is and isn't possible naturally, it's just not my cup of tea. That being said, I always promote natural lifting on this channel, so you can expect a lot more videos about the advantages of staying natty and how to spot a fake natural in general, but I will not target individuals. That being said, outside of that, there is also another type of people that I personally don't like and that I think hurt the gains of new lifters and even the natural potential just as much as fake natties, and it is pessimists. The type of people who will tell you, oh, you can't have a good physique naturally, here are what you can accomplish, if you do this then you're not natural, and they're basically naysayers, and their entire goal in life is to make you believe that nothing is possible. And that to me is just as annoying, repulsive, and it's a mentality that is a loser's mindset, and I never want people on this channel to fall into that trap. So there's that website called nattyornot.com, and I've known about it for years, but I've sort of rediscovered it recently, and I realized that it was a gold mine for my channel because I can just read the articles and make fun of it. It doesn't take any work on my part. I can do it as I record, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And there's a lot of material because they cover a lot of stuff. So let's start off by saying that I don't know who that person who writes the article is. They call themselves Truth Seeker, which, if anything, should give an indication of the type of person we're talking about. Sounds like a red pill, like black pill individual who thinks they have discovered the secrets of the universe. There's a ton of men going their own way on their website. And in general, a lot of mental masturbation that I think is completely worthless when you want to build a good physique. We're going to start dissecting their website with a Natty or Not article that they wrote about Eric Bugenhagen. This is the reason why you clicked on that video. You most likely expected me to make a Natty or Not about Eric, which I will not be doing. Straight up, I think Eric is natty. I've been following him for a long time. I don't see any signs of him not being natural, but I'm not going to discuss that, or at least not straight up like this, because I'm going to use these arguments to detract from the article that was written. Why? Because the title of the article is he a natural or is he a needle samurai? So basically you already know that they think he's not natty. And the range of arguments, the range of details that they notice is laughable, and is going to be a good time for me to just clown them. So we're going to start right off the bat. So they say, and they start by reading his stats. So the guy is 6'1". I think he said in a video that he might actually be 6'2" at this point. He's 235, so he was around 240. And they say, and that's the first mistake, body fat unknown but seems fairly low, 12 to 15%. He is not 12 to 15% body fat. And even offering that wide of a range is insane. 12 to 15% is not, it's way too big of a range. Losing 3% body fat for a natural could take years if you want to maintain your muscle mass. It's a slow game. It's a world of difference. in my opinion, Eric is 15% and above. And just like many naturals, when you're at that body fat, which is a completely healthy body fat, it's not high body fat by any means, a pump changes your life. Without a pump, you might look soft. With a pump, you look like a statue made of marble. And that's the case for Eric. So I do think that right off the bat, they're not calibrating and they're not assessing his body fat accurately. And that type of inaccuracies is going to be recurrent in the article. They calculate his FFMI. FFMIs mean nothing. They are way too influenced by your height. Any change of body fat, especially if you're not able to assess it properly like here, is going to make a vast difference. And saying that anything above 25 is immediately in the realm of non-naturals is idiotic. I was above 25 when I was overweight because the amount of body fat I had didn't make up for the amount of mass I had for my height. Didn't mean I wasn't natural. Now that I've lost the weight, I've lost the FFMI. It's not a good way to decide if someone is natural. You can be on PEDs and have below 25. It depends on your frame and your stature. So they go, all of that stuff is not that interesting. They say that he's 230 with 15%, so they calculate his lean body mass, and they decide arbitrarily that if he was 215, he would be shredded. Doesn't work like that. You can't take someone who's 235 and say, oh, if you lose 20 pounds, then you would be like this. Because you don't know how the cut is going to go. The cut can take away a lot of muscle, a lot of fat, depending on the diet or the type of exercise. The fat distribution can change. The way the body is going to modify the way the resources are attributed to one body part or the other can change. So that's complete nonsense. 215 for a guy who's 6'2" and shredded would be pretty big. That being said, what is shredded? They already underestimate his body fat. So I expect that guy who's writing the article thinks that someone who's 10% body fat is shredded. That's personally not my opinion of what being shredded is. 10% body fat is still in the realm of what is possible for a natural to attain, while still being relatively big, as long as you do it slowly. If I was to go to 10% body fat fast, I would melt away. But that's what being a natural is. You have to take your time. And then they go full Blaha. The guy compares Bugenhagen to Serge Nubret. And they say that Serge used to be 200 pounds, between 200 and 215 at 6 feet. Serge Nubret was not 12 to 15% body fat. He was in the 8% range. So why are you even trying to compare that? And I know why, is because they think that a shredded Bugenhagen would be 215. But he wouldn't be 215 because you overshot his body fat. At 215, he would not be 8% body fat. So they go from an inaccurate assessment that they made, and then they make an argument through a comparison with a pro bodybuilder that remains inaccurate because it's based on a false pretense. Insane. And the guy wrote that and didn't even realize what he was doing, or he did, and he's just an hypocrite, which a lot of the people who fall into that mentality of, oh, if you're big, you're not natural, they all have the same mindset, they all think the same way, which is why it's so easy for me to decrypt it. So he basically says, this is it. Serge Nubret wasn't natural, he was a pillar for life, and that in that case, is he supposed to believe that Bugenhagen has a comparable amount of lean body mass, which is not the case, at a similar enough height? No, because it's not the case. I say that, I said he went full Blaha because anyone who knows about the legendary video of Blaha comparing himself to Serge Nubret will understand what I'm talking about. It's the same delusion that I'm reading here of people who are not able to assess body fat percentages correctly and who don't realize that, yes, it's going to be vastly different between individuals, and especially if you compare someone who's natural, like Bugenhagen, with New Bray, because PEDs changed the game completely. After that, there's a classic argument that I've heard a ton. They take the fact that Bugenhagen had 20-inch pumped, and the pumped is very important, arms naturally without being fat. In that one sentence, there's so much wrong about it. One, Bugenhagen is fat in natural terms, meaning that if you put him on a bodybuilding stage, he will be fat. You put me on a bodybuilding stage, I'm chunky. We're not contest ripped because we're naturals. For an athlete to get constant ripped, you have to sacrifice a ton of mass. And that's why it's stupid to abide by the rules of people who take drugs. Naturals follow their own rules. We are allowed to carry more body fat on our frame because A, it doesn't look bad, 2, it keeps us healthy, and 3, it keeps us big. So 1, it's stupid. Bugenhagen, when he did his 20-inch pump, was 15% body fat or more. They don't say it, I think, in the article, but something tells me that they think that because he has a six-pack, he's low body fat. I have a six-pack, I'm 16 to 17% body fat. Naturals who have a lot of muscle on their frame distort the way body fat is seen. Why? Because muscles bulge through the fat, and a muscle that bulges through the fat looks even bigger because it's surrounded by fat. And certain muscles like the abs don't have much definition to them. There's depth in between the abs, you see the cuts of it, you don't see ab striations. I will put the article into the description because the guy puts picture in, and the pictures are important because he's talking to an audience of people who are either already agreeing with him, meaning that they already lost their will to become big, or it's a bunch of impressionable people who just Google the names of people on YouTube Fitness to see if they're natural or not. And let me come back to one thing that he said here, because I didn't finish the sentence. So they say, oh, do you want me to believe that Bugenhagen, he has the same stats just because he does deadlifts between his legs? Again, that's trying to present Eric as someone who only does meme lifts. He competed in powerlifting. He's done more deadlifts and orthodox squats than pretty much anyone on YouTube Fitness. Yes, he had that phase where he did odd lifts, but it was only because he wanted, as he said, to be the best at them. And let me stop here and address something. I'm not doing that video to protect Bugenhagen. He doesn't need me to protect him. He doesn't need anyone for that. I don't fight another man's battle. This is something across the line that I will always stand true to. But it's important for this channel, my channel, to protect the natural status from PED users and from people who try to make others believe that nothing is achievable naturally. They're both detrimental, and I want to oppose them both, basically. So this is why I'm doing this. And this is why I'm saying Bugenhagen did odd lifts because he found them fun and he wanted to become the best at them. Are odd lifts the best to pack on muscles? Maybe not, maybe not. Same for partials, it's probably not the best to pack on muscles. Are they completely useless? No. But trying to say that Bugenhagen only did that, he only did deadlift between his legs, that's nonsense. He's accumulated tens of thousands of hours of regular weightlifting plus his hard lift. So yeah, the fact that he has a massive muscular frame on him makes total sense. So to go back to the arms, at some point Bugenhagen had that thing where he wanted 20 inches arms and he got them. The thing is, he didn't just get a pump, he did katsu, which is blood restriction training. Outside of the potential benefits for hypertrophy of blood restriction training, one thing it does is it blows up the muscle. Why? Because you are trapping the blood in an area it cannot escape. So the muscle is engorged with blood. This is not the real measurements of the muscle. personally, when I tape my muscles to see if I progress, I do it flat. I do it with no pump. That's just my preference because I personally have a vast difference between the size of the muscle when it's pumped and when it's not pumped. And since I cannot maintain the same pump all the time, I don't know how much I gain, and I don't want it to somehow modify my measurements. But in this case, it's not just a pump. He did that on purpose to blow up the arm as much as possible to get to 20 inches. Which means what? It wasn't his real measurements. I don't know what his arms actually measured at the time. It was maybe 18 inches, maybe 19, I don't know. But he didn't have 20 inches arms cold. It was through a mega pump. Of course, the article doesn't mention that. So, they say that he had 20 inches arms while being lean. Again, they don't say what lean means. Lean could be 8% or 15% body fat. And then they say, I want you to perform the following exercise. Pump up your arms. Take a tape measure, put it around your arms and set it at 20. Look at the gap between your skin and the tape. Do you think you can fill that abyss while preserving some form of a six-pack ab? First off, what type of argument is that? When I started lifting, even after 3 years of lifting, after puberty, my arms were maybe 13 inches. So now they're 18. So imagine someone coming up to me, taping my arm and doing like putting the tape up and saying, oh, look at all the space to get to 18 inches. It's impossible, you will never do it. Well, of course. And also because when you put the tape around the arm like this, if you pull it like this, then yeah, it's going to look shocking. But the truth of the matter is, the tape is around the arm. When you put muscle on, it's around the entire arm. No one is asking you to gain 5 inches here. Of course, it's not going to happen. But it's going to be englobing the arm, the tricep, the bicep, everything with fat and muscle. So yes, it's very doable. It's a stupid way to try and prove that someone is not natural. Because you can do the same for legs. Take someone who's never squatted in their life and who has 18 inches legs and say, oh, you will never get to 25 inches. Look at all the space. Well, with that logic, no one would do anything. And they say, so of course they use the metaphor of the enormous gap. And they say, do you think you can have abs and do that? Yeah, because you can have abs and be 20% body fat. You can have pretty defined abs and be 15% body fat. I'm a proof of that, and Bugenhagen has done it too. So it then comes on to the next question that I hear a lot. The next question is, if Bugenhagen can have 20 inches pumped arms naturally, how big would his guns be if he goes on PEDs? And they say if he goes full Ronnie Coleman, 25 inches? No, because it doesn't work like that. From what I know at least, one, he doesn't have 20 inches arms, so maybe he would be able to get to 20 inches using PEDs, which a ton of kids manage to get. Just search on YouTube Fitness, 18-year-olds, 20 inches arms. There's a bunch of people who get that with PEDs. It's nothing special. It's very special if you're natural because it's the holy grail. But even then, he says 25 inches. 25 inches is a measurement that nowadays is reached by bodybuilders, or at least 24 inches. It's a 24-inch arm is not incredibly impressive. And also, the bodybuilders of today get to that measurement lean, sub 10% body fat. The guys like Lee Priest, who used to be on mega bulks, went way above that when they were completely chunky. So that makes no sense again. And also because you cannot predict how your body is going to react to PEDs. You can take someone who is very gifted as a natural, who has a good physique, put them on PEDs. One, they could have an adverse reaction to it and just not be able to stay on that cycle and lose all their gains. Two, they could be non-receptive to the product or barely receptive, which would not make them gain that much size. And it will also mean that for him to express the full potential of what he could be on PEDs, he would have to stay on it for a long time. Again, I know that the author of the article does not believe that you just do this and your arm blows up. You have to stay on it. So it's a demeaning argument, because it shows that they take the people who read that for idiots. He says Arnold would be jealous. Back in the day, the GOAT claimed that he had 20 inches arms, but the rumor was that his arms actually measured at 19 inches. So he's basically saying, okay, Bugenhagen has 20 inches arms, Arnold used to have 19 inches, so Bugenhagen cannot be natty because Arnold had bigger arms. One, again, Bugenhagen doesn't have 20 inches arms. Two, when Arnold was on stage, he didn't do katsu before going on stage. Have you seen the way they pre-pump before the stage? They pre-pump the entire body, which limits the amount of blood you can send into one muscle. And also, the pump is fleeting. It goes away very fast. So even if Arnold decided for one show that he wanted to have the freakiest biceps and do katsu, blood restriction, it would fade by the time he was on stage. So it's not a method that he would have taken. We don't know how big his arms were. Arnold was notorious for lying to build his legend, which there's nothing wrong about that. But we don't know. That's the bottom line. We don't know. The only thing we know is that the chances of Bugenhagen having 19, almost 20 inches arms at the body fat that Arnold was is 0. For naturals, I don't think it's possible. Arnold, when he was on stage, wasn't super lean, but he was 10%, sub 10%. He wasn't 15%. I know it doesn't sound like much, but 5% body fat is a lot. It changes a look completely. You look completely different. So again, stupid argument. It takes 5 seconds to debunk. And the worst part is that I can picture that guy writing the article and thinking like, oh, yeah, I'm so smart. Like, what I'm writing makes so much sense. No. He says, what I do know is that a man who doesn't have an absolutely freaky thick skeleton is incapable of constructing 20 inches arms naturally in anything that resembles a lean condition. That old argument again of, oh, the size of your joint is going to be slightly correlated with the size of your muscles. No, just no. I have super thin wrists and I still have an 18 upper arm. And I'm not a super chunker, I'm 16-17% body fat. It's doable. I have fairly thin knees, I have 20 inches legs. Those things make no sense. You can use them for baselines, but don't think they're absolutes. They are not. And people will say, oh, it's because if you lose the body fat, then you'll get to your true measurements. But why would I lose the body fat? Or why would Bugenhagen lose the body fat? We look pretty damn good at 15%. So why lose it? Why should we abide to the rules of people who take PEDs for what? To be a skinny skeleton on stage and say, oh, look, I'm ripped. What is the point of that? I respect natural bodybuilders, but I will never do that. There's no point. And it's so strange too, because the people like that guy who seem to be on a crusade to prove that you cannot achieve anything naturally use the standards that have been set by PED users to push their case. So they have studied PED use extensively and they don't realize that it's the reason why they don't think that anything is possible naturally. They forgot what it means to be natural. So yeah, having a thick skeleton is going to be a good indicator of your ability to pack on muscle, but it's not the end all be all. You can surpass those limits. And again, they talk about lean condition, coming from someone who is incapable of knowing what body fat is and who compared Serge Nubret to Bugenhagen, thinking that they would be at the same stats if they were the same body fat, is laughable. Then they post a selfie of Eric doing a pose. Guy looks super good for natural. He has an incredible physique for natural. But I don't see any, like when I look at him, I see a guy who knows how to get a pump, who knows how to use good lighting, who has good insertions, and who's been working hard. Like, it doesn't look unattainable to me at all. Then they ask, does he have the Photoshop look? They say, oh, he's holding a little bit too much water and fat. Yeah, wow, you're starting to understand. He actually is, which is why he looks good, because it's subcutaneous fat and water that surrounds the muscle, gets underneath the muscle, and makes it look bigger, which is great for naturals. Wow, we're actually getting somewhere. And then, no, they reverse the argument, and they say he's still very lean and muscular. Yes, it's possible. You don't have to be as shredded as an aesthetic brat to be a needle samurai. Yes. And on the other hand, you don't have to be a needle samurai to be shredded and big. There are certain limits that you will not be able to attain because as your body fat percentage crash, your body's ability to produce test crashes. So you're not able to maintain that muscle mass, which is why naturals need to be patient and they need to stay in a healthy range. But he has been training for decades. He must be natural, say the dreamers. This is probably why I hate these people so much. What is the point of what they do? Because doing prevention like I do and telling people, hey, be careful, fake natties sell you fake dreams, PEDs are not the way, stay natural, you can achieve great things. I'm trying to help people stay on the path and be patient and wait for their gains. What is that guy doing? He's doing the exact opposite. He's saying, oh, you will do nothing being natural. Just either jump on drugs or give up on your dreams. Great, wow, that's excellent for the mental health of young lifters. Thank you very much. He says, you are right, bro. Decades of training is why Mike O-Train is so big. The classic argument of that Mike, the Hun guy, who is, yes, a liar. Everyone in the industry knows he's a liar. And he knows he's a liar too. At this point, he's trolling people. He has a flourishing YouTube channel. He makes money doing what he does. Of course, he's going to continue lying because no one can stop him at this point. He's a meme. He's unstoppable. So yeah, he's going to continue, but using him as an example is stupid. Especially because if you put Bugenhagen next to Mike, it's night and day. Like, I love Eric. He would be dwarfed. And if you put me next to Eric, I would be dwarfed. Such is life, you know? Frame, height, they play a role. But you put a natural next to a PD guy and it's going to be pretty shocking how different they look. Which is strange that they use that argument because they're trying to equate the way Eric looks with Mike. Like, they look nothing alike at all. Mike has maybe 7 or 8% body fat all year round. And they say, years of dedication, of a training regimen, and hardcore nutrition is where it's at. Yeah, exactly. That's how you get big. Just pack it on slowly every year and eat your carrots. Again, yes. By the time you're in your 40s, you will be huge and ripped. Again, yes. Because the way YouTube fitness is organized right now is guys peak in their 25s and then they degrade. Why? Because there's a lot of PED use. But for real naturals, you're going to peak when you're 35, 40. This is when your test is going to be at its max, right? This is when you're going to have accumulated so much tonnage that you're going to be an unstoppable machine. So it shows to me again that that guy knows nothing about natural training and has given up on the natural way a long time ago. They said things don't work like that. Who's bigger? The twin that's been training for 5 years or the one who's been lifting for 15? And they say, you don't know. Yes, I do. The guy who's been training for 15, 100%, because they'll have accumulated much more tonnage. And this is where we get to the heart of it. Because you might think, well, what is that guy's argument? What is the cornerstone of the mentality of people who think like that? The fake natty police, the people who say, nothing is possible naturally. Listen up, this is it. Because a man doesn't need 5 centuries to reach his natural potential. Eventually you are just maintaining because no amount of natural stimulus can boost your past predetermined physiology. So much to unpack. First off, what is a predetermined physiology? Are we talking somatotypes? These don't exist. Someone who is skinny can become big. I'm the golden proof of that. You don't have to give up and just live with what nature gave you. You can change your body. It's what bodybuilding is about. And they say, no amount of natural stimulus. What is a natural stimulus? What is that? Are you talking weight? If they're talking weight, if you increase the weight you lift slowly over time and you increase volume and intensity in an intelligent way that is going to lead to tonnage increase year after year after year, the muscle is going to receive more and more stimulus and will grow. The idea that in your body is encoded a limit, like your muscle is gonna, it's counting the tonnage you're giving it, at one point it says, okay, no more. Like you gave me 55 million pounds of tonnage, like your bicep, and that's it. Nothing that you can do past that is going to make me grow bigger. That's it. That's my limit. That has never been proven by any studies. It will never be proven because it's nonsense and it doesn't even make logical sense in the terms of human evolution. Why would your body do that? The body does have a predisposition to stop you from building muscle fast and wants you to store fat. Why? It's good for survival for multiple reasons. One, because fat is something that you store in you that can be consumed very rapidly in case there's no food. Muscle is very glutinous in calories and oxygen, so it's a hustle. It's hard to keep it on your frame. But all of these things can be bypassed via training and a proper nutrition. So again, those people have no leg to stand on when they talk about stuff like that. Yes, there is going to be a time where your progress slows down. This is what determines quitters from winners. People who say, oh, I'm not able to progress fast anymore, I'm gonna quit. Okay, then quit. But then these people become like this and they try to discourage others by saying, oh, I couldn't progress, so you can't either. Well, they could have progressed, they just didn't want to because it's too much work. Every natural who pushes the limit is going to think about it at some point. Why am I doing this? Why am I spending 2 hours working out, slowly increasing tonnage for minimal gains? Because the gains are minimal, but they add up. You know why we do that? Because we love it. That's it. If you don't love it, go be an accountant. Do something else. But don't discourage people who are actually trying to better themselves. It blows my mind. And again, the example of the twin, like, of course someone who works 15 years is going to be bigger than someone who works 5 years. It makes no sense. Everything in life is going to be based on the same principle. Yes, not everyone who works hard is going to win. That's not the case. But working hard and putting work into something is always going to result in better results in life, as long as you're smart about it. And even if you're not smart, it will. It's just going to be slower and potentially lead to injuries. Massive rant, I'm going to talk about that on the channel all the time because it just annoys me to no end. Blah, 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 natural potential, blah, blah, blah. But he trains like a narcomaniac, says the fan of Alpha Destiny. And they say, oh, Bugenhagen is known for maxing out on weird lifts. And they say it's called Bulgarian Light, which is the Wisconsin method. And then, textbook example of someone who knows nothing about what they're talking about. It's derived from the original plan of the weightlifting coach Ivan Abajev. The name is, the program isn't, the method isn't. Anyone who knows about Bulgarian method know that it has nothing to do with Bulgarian Light. Maxing out on a lift 1 time a day, every day, is not the Bulgarian method. The Bulgarian method was going to the gym, doing 2-hour sessions every day, 4 times a day, maxing out on every lift several times a day, on the front squat, on the clean, on the jerk. It has nothing to do with the Wisconsin method. Nothing. They share the same name, but the principles are vastly different. So comparing the two is idiotic because the argument he uses here is, oh, well, anyone who was coached by Abajev used to be on PEDs. Yeah, because they tried to win medals. But you can't compare the two. On one hand, you have the Wisconsin method where you spend 45 minutes in the gym, maxing out once and then going home. On the other hand, you have 6 to 8 hours of hardcore lifting every day. The difference in tonnage between the two methods are night and day. Of course, you need PEDs to recover from the second method. And even people who did use that broke under the insane amount of volume. Wisconsin method is known for having low volume, high intensity. That's the gist of the method. So stupid example again. That guy should be ashamed of that article. I don't know if he's going to watch that video, but if he does, go back and edit your stuff, dude. This is awful. blah blah blah, not natural, blah blah blah. Since the internet warriors have a soft spot for barbaric lifting, the Bulgarian method became popular. No, it didn't. No one on YouTube Fitness is doing the Bulgarian method. No one. So again, stupid. They're doing Bulgarian light, it's not the same. The routine is too brutal if you don't own a pharmacy. Yes, because you're talking about the Bulgarian method again, which no one does. This is why the people came up with the light version, okay? So he just dismissed his entire argument with one sentence. Are you schizophrenic? Is there a team of 5 people who each weigh 100 pounds writing this? What is going on? And they say, who cares whether you do Bulgarian light or the full-blown version, which are completely different. You still won't break the natural limits. Yeah, you won't break them because they don't exist. Today or 100 years from now, because those limits are not dependent on the variable known as training. Wow, yeah. So training is not important, basically. These are the people who think that you're going to reach... I need to say it because I know that some people who watch this video believe in the natural limit. I'm going to say something, I'm going to resume the train of thought, and you're going to tell me if that makes sense. They basically say that you're going to reach a point where your entire body is going to say, no more. No more muscle gains. You cannot gain any more. And even if you take your tonnage from 30 millions to 60 millions in 5 years, you will have made 0 muscle gains. This is what they're saying here when they say, those limits are not dependent on the variable known as training. Does that make sense? Do you think that this is logic? If you say yes, unsubscribe and leave the channel, because you're going to find nothing of value here, because this is everything I believe is stupid. Blah blah blah. The lifting acrobatics that Bugenhagen does at his basement do not have the capacity to produce musculature beyond the natural limits, which I've disproven. If he has broken the natural limits, it's certainly not the result of extremely heavy lunges. Again, they recognize in a way that Bugenhagen is above what they consider the natural limit, and they don't like it. This is also the reason why on this channel, I'm either going to be told that I am at the natural limit and there's no point in what I'm doing, and the second I'm going to look a little bit too impressive, I'm going to be told that I'm on PED. I'm already prepared for that. Be ready, because it's gonna happen. So again, bitterness, those people are clearly jealous of what Bugenhagen has accomplished. The crazy lift that Bugenhagen has done in his basement has nothing to do with the way he looks. Most of the volume he got was from outside of these lifts, as I explained before. That's entertainment footage. Yes, wow, he's a wrestler, he's entertaining people. And it's not a way to hack natural bodybuilding. In a way, it could be. Throwing some high intensity work can be a good way to push tonnage, because it's going to help you handle more volume in the long run, because it pushes progression, which is vastly important to increase your tonnage. But people like this who don't believe in programming and training won't understand that. There's a reason why Bugenhagen became a wrestler. He's funny to some, I think he's pretty funny. Big, muscular, handsome, and high energy, yeah. Qualities that make him a good entertainer without an actual impact on his natural ability to build muscle mass. He is big, muscular, high energy, and that has no impact on his ability to build muscle mass. I take back what I just said. This wasn't written by 5 people who weigh 100 pounds. This was written by a lemur. This is not possible. They contradict themselves every sentence. And also, people don't become athletes because they have the natural abilities too. They start in it and then they succeed in it because they have those abilities. You're not born and someone stamps on your forehead, wrestlers, and you're a wrestler for the rest of your life. You fall into it, and if you have the love and talent for that, you stay into that. And also, there are footage of Bugenhagen when he was young and training for the University of Wisconsin. I'm not hating, he wasn't what he is today. He wasn't as big, he wasn't as charismatic, and he was still a top wrestler, and I think that his level in wrestling back then was better than it is now. I don't know if it's true. I don't know how much pro wrestling actually works for actual wrestling. I'm just saying. I do not accept the he trains really hard argument. There are many people out there who train hard. Okay? Where are they? Because I hear that all the time. I know that the argument that fake Nat is used of saying, oh, I train hard, is hated by many. But the reason why it's actually a good argument is because those fake natties don't actually train hard. Doing sets of leg extension and grunting and looking at like you're in pain is not training hard. A hard program is a program that pushes volume intensity through compound movements, supersets, and results in high tonnage. Because those fake natties, their actual tonnage at the end of the workout is low, which is why they're fake natties. There's another substance that's making that muscle grow. Training really hard is a perfect argument for someone being big, I can guarantee you that. If I see someone who's massive and I see their program and it's like a little flowery little thing, I know that they're full of BS because this is not how you get big muscles. You have to train hard. There are many people out there who train hard. Again, I've been to gyms I'm talking commercial gym, for the best part of 10 years. Never seen anyone work harder than me. And I'm not saying I'm some monster. I'm not saying I have the discipline of steel, which is why it's so sad. If I've never been outdone, it's a proof that most people don't train hard. They don't understand what training hard is. Going in the gym and doing 5 sets of 5 of heavy deadlift is not training hard. You're not pushing tonnage. This is not how you grow. Blah, blah, blah. And again, they say, well, people train hard, but no one ever accuses them of taking anabolic steroids. The goal of any naturals should be to be so big and ripped and freaky that people think you take PEDs. If no one is taking you for a fake natty, then you failed. The kids want him to be natural. The fans of Alpha Destiny want this man to be natural because they like his personality, but that's not a valid argument. His body is still subject to the natty laws. They don't exist, so he's subject to nothing. There. I don't care if he does squats with his head upside down, that will always be the case, blah, blah, blah. Again, they're trying to say that he does clown lifts, and therefore it's a proof that he got his muscle somewhere else. Completely ignoring the fact that 95% of that man's training is actually very rigid, orthodox training. You want him to be natural because it would make for a great story, blah, 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 and they basically say, you too will have 20-inch pumped arms. So they're basically using the argument that people want Eric to be natty because if he is natty, it means that it's attainable. It means you can look like him. Well, yeah, you're not going to look like him because he has his own structure, frame, body, muscle insertions, etc. But you can look pretty close. This is something I'm going to preach on the channel. If you clicked on one of my lifting videos and you see my physique and you think, wow, that's impressive, guess what? You can get that too. And even above. Because I personally don't think I have as good as genetics as Bugenhagen. Far from that. So anything you see me look like, you can look like that too. It's not that hard. It's, let me correct that. It's not that complicated. It's going to be hard, it's going to take time, but it's doable. And I'm going to flip that argument on his head. The reason why that guy, Truth Seeker, does not want Eric to be natural is because if Eric is natural, it would mean that that guy is a wimp. He's lazy. And that is something that those people cannot stand. Because if they can tell themselves that someone is actually a fake natty, it excuses their own laziness. They don't have to own up to the fact that, hey, the reason why you're a skinny wimp is because you don't know how to train and you don't train hard. And they hate hearing that. It's much easier to say, oh, I'm natty, bro. Like, this channel promotes natural lifting. I will always help naturals reclaim their ability to feel good about themselves, about what they do. I will give you reasons to stay natural. One thing I cannot stand though, and don't, it's almost at the same level as being a fake natural. People who are small and who say, oh, it's because I'm natural. Like, it's okay that I have spaghetti arms, I'm natural. If you spend any amount of time working out and you're still small, don't use being natural as an excuse. You can be big as a natural. You just don't work hard enough. That's it. Put in more efforts. So yeah, again, that guy, classic hater. In conclusion, this man is so close to the bodybuilding legends from the 70s, he isn't, not even close. Again, they don't understand anything about body fat, that it would be unreasonable to assume that he isn't part of the Needle Samurai legend. What an incredible article. You need to go and read it, and then read the comments and tell me what type of people commented under the video, and try and picture them in your head. I think the 5 guys I talked about, the 5 who weighed 100 pounds, they're in the comments. So yeah, that's pretty much that for this video. Long video, I didn't expect it to be that long. But it's going to be, I think, a recurring thing on the channel because that guy has a lot of articles. And if they're all as bad as this one and full of BS, we're going to have a lot of fun reading through it and just debunking everything he writes. So that's going to be that for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. And leave a comment, and if you want to read the article, quote your favorite part and make fun of it in the comments so that we can have some exchange. Thank you, have a good day.